Picture the most famous portrait you have ever seen of Marie Antoinette. The elaborate powdered wig, the silk and lace, the porcelain skin, the posture that communicates absolute authority. Now picture her in a stone cell, 8 feet by 10 feet, hair hacked short with dull scissors, wearing a stained black dress that has not been washed in weeks, sleeping on rotting straw that has not been changed since she arrived. The woman in that cell bears no resemblance to the portrait, and that gap between image and reality, that is what we are about to explore.
The year is 1793. On August 2nd, at 2 in the morning, Marie Antoinette is transferred from the Temple prison to the Conciergerie, the last stop before the guillotine.
She is 37 years old. She has 76 days left to live. You are about to discover what those 76 days actually looked like, smelled like, felt like.
Here's what makes this especially devastating. Marie Antoinette spent her entire adult life constructing an image of physical perfection. Elaborate hairstyles that took hours to create, cosmetics applied by specialists, clothing that required multiple attendants to put on.
Her body was never private. It was a political instrument. And now, in this cell, every layer of that constructed image is being systematically stripped away. Not metaphorically, literally.
Let me describe the cell. The Conciergerie still exists in Paris. The cell where Marie Antoinette was held has been preserved. Archaeologists and historians have studied it extensively. 8 feet by 10 feet. Stone walls. A single barred window 7 feet up lets in almost no light. The floor is rough stone, covered with straw, that is replaced irregularly, sometimes once a week, sometimes less.
There is a wooden screen in one corner. Behind it, a chamber pot. That is the entire space. Think about what this means for basic biological functions. You are a woman who has spent your entire adult life attended by servants for every intimate act. Dressing, bathing, even using a chamber pot was a semi-public ritual performed with attendants.
Now you are alone, with a chamber pot that gets emptied once a day if you are lucky. The smell is the first thing that hits anyone who enters. Human waste, menstrual blood, sweat, the rot of unchanged straw. And something else, the smell of fear, of a body under extreme stress releasing chemicals through skin and breath. Marie Antoinette is hemorrhaging. She has been for months. She is suffering from uterine bleeding that contemporary accounts describe as severe and constant. In the luxury of Versailles, this would have been managed with fresh linens changed multiple times daily, baths and physicians.
Here, she has rags that she washes herself in cold water when she is permitted. If you believe that history's most privileged people deserve to have their final days documented honestly, consider subscribing to this channel.
We are revealing what the portraits could never show. The biological reality of prolonged imprisonment is precise and predictable. First, the hair. Marie Antoinette's elaborate hairstyles required daily maintenance by specialists. Without that maintenance, powdered hair becomes a breeding ground for lice. Within days of arriving at the Conciergerie, her hair is infested. The lice are not just uncomfortable. They spread from hair to clothing to bedding. The biting creates wounds. The wounds, in an environment this unsanitary, become infected. Contemporary accounts mention that her hair was cut short during her imprisonment. This was not a fashion choice. It was an attempt to control the infestation. Picture what that means. You have spent decades building an identity around elaborate hair.
Hair so iconic it influenced fashion across Europe. Hair that took 3 hours to dress each morning. And now someone with dull scissors hacks it off in clumps because you have lice.
The straw she sleeps on is replaced irregularly. When fresh straw comes in, it is better for perhaps 2 days. Then it begins to rot. Straw in contact with sweat, menstrual blood, or any liquid breaks down rapidly. As it breaks down, it grows mold.
Multiple species. Some are merely unpleasant, some are toxic. You are breathing mold spores continuously, sleeping in decomposing plant matter. Your skin is in constant contact with bacterial colonies. The dress she is wearing is black. Records indicate it was one of her mourning dresses from when her husband was executed.
But it is not being laundered. In a cell this small, with this little ventilation, the dress absorbs everything. Sweat.
The smell of the chamber pot, mold from the straw. After 3 weeks, the fabric itself is beginning to degrade. The perfumes she once wore, complex formulations of flowers, musk, ambergris, were designed to signal wealth and status, but they also served a practical function, masking the smell of bodies that rarely bathed.
She has no perfume now, just the unmasked smell of a human body under extreme stress in an unsanitary environment. Let me talk about what stress does to a body at the biological level. Marie Antoinette knows she is going to die. There is no uncertainty. She has watched her husband go to the guillotine. She knows that is her fate too.
Living with certain death creates a specific cascade of biological responses. Cortisol, the stress hormone, floods the system continuously. Prolonged elevated cortisol suppresses immune function, disrupts sleep, and accelerates aging of tissues. Her skin, once maintained with expensive creams and protected from the sun, is now breaking down. Without moisturization, skin becomes dry and cracks. In an environment full of bacteria, these cracks become entry points for infection. Contemporary portraits from just before her execution show her looking decades older than she is. This is not artistic interpretation.
This is what 76 days of extreme stress does to human tissue. The uterine bleeding is getting worse. In medical terms, she is likely experiencing menorrhagia, abnormally heavy menstrual bleeding, possibly exacerbated by stress, poor nutrition, and lack of medical care.
She is losing blood continuously, enough that she is becoming anemic. Anemia causes fatigue, weakness, difficulty concentrating, and shortness of breath. She is bleeding, exhausted, and trapped in a cell that smells like death. Here is what makes this especially cruel. The cell is under constant surveillance.
There are guards posted right outside. A gendarme named Gilbert is assigned to watch her continuously, sitting in the cell with her, observing everything. Think about what this means for a woman raised with absolute privacy for intimate functions. You cannot change your menstrual rags without being watched. You cannot use the chamber pot without being observed. Every biological function that the court of Versailles carefully concealed behind ritual and screens is now performed under observation by a hostile guard. The humiliation is designed into the system. But here is what is haunting. Some of the guards, despite themselves, felt pity. One guard, Rosalie Lamorliere, smuggled in small items, fresh bread, a clean handkerchief. These tiny gestures of humanity in a system designed to dehumanize. The bread matters more than you would think. Prison rations in the Conciergerie were minimal and of terrible quality. Moldy bread, watery soup, sometimes meat so spoiled it was green. Marie Antoinette, who once dined on delicacies prepared by teams of chefs, is now eating food that is actively toxic. Poor nutrition combined with stress and blood loss creates a vicious cycle. The body cannot repair itself. Wounds do not heal. Infections spread. She is quite literally decomposing while still alive. Think about the tragic irony. Marie Antoinette's entire life was dedicated to maintaining an image of physical perfection that contradicted biological reality. Elaborate hairstyles hid natural hair, cosmetics concealed skin, clothing reshaped the body's natural form. And now, in this cell, all of those tools are gone. What remains is just a body that is failing. The Revolutionary Tribunal wants her to die twice. Once physically at the guillotine, but first symbolically, through the complete destruction of the image she spent her life constructing. And they are succeeding. Let me describe the final degradation, the trial. On October 14th, Marie Antoinette is brought before the Revolutionary Tribunal. She has been awake for approximately 36 hours at this point. The interrogation began in her cell and continued through the night. Sleep deprivation is its own form of torture. After 24 hours without sleep, Cognitive function deteriorates dramatically. After 36 hours, people begin experiencing symptoms similar to psychosis. She is exhausted, anemic, and now being interrogated by people who have already decided her guilt.
The trial lasts 2 days. She is not permitted to sit for most of it. She is standing, bleeding, swaying from fatigue, while prosecutors describe her as a monster. Witnesses describe her appearance at the trial. Hair white, not powdered, actually white from stress. Face gaunt, body so weak she could barely stand.
This is the woman who once embodied aristocratic beauty and power. Contemporary accounts mention that at one point during the trial, she had to ask for a chair. The request was denied. She was forced to lean against a wall to avoid collapsing. Think about the symbolism. The woman who once sat on a throne is now begging for a chair and being refused. The verdict is predetermined. Death by guillotine. She has returned to her cell. She has hours left.
Here's what those final hours looked like, based on records and archaeological analysis of the cell. She wrote a final letter to her sister-in-law. The letter still exists. The handwriting is shaky, inconsistent. The hand of someone physically and psychologically broken.
She tried to sleep but could not. Guards reported hearing her moving throughout the night, pacing the tiny cell. The sound of someone falling, likely collapsing from weakness, then struggling to stand again.
At 4:30 in the morning, she changed into a white dress, brought by guards specifically for the execution. White for purity, for innocence, for martyrdom.
But here's the thing about wearing white when you are hemorrhaging. The dress does not stay white. By the time she leaves the cell, there are bloodstains visible on the white fabric.
The image the revolutionaries wanted to create, the pure victim, the martyred queen, is already contradicted by her own biology. The journey from cell to guillotine is designed for maximum humiliation. She is not transported in a closed carriage like her husband was. She is put in an open cart, so the crowd can see her, mock her, and throw things at her. The journey takes over an hour, through streets packed with people screaming for her death. She is sitting in that cart, in a blood-stained white dress, while thousands of people celebrate her approaching execution. The famous portrait by Jacques-Louis David captures her in the cart. It has become an iconic image, the dignified queen facing death with courage. But look closely at the portrait. The artist himself noted details. Her mouth is set in a hard line. Her hands are bound. Her body is rigid. This is not dignity. This is a woman using every remaining ounce of will to control a body that is betraying her. At 12:15 p.m. on October 16, 1793, Marie Antoinette is beheaded. The crowd roars approval. Now here's the part that should haunt you. Within hours, her cell in the Conciergerie is cleaned. The straw is removed and burned. The chamber pot is emptied. The walls are washed. Every physical trace of her 76 days there is systematically erased. By the next morning, the cell is ready for its next occupant. The revolutionaries understood something important. Destroying the person is not enough. You have to destroy the evidence of their suffering, because suffering creates sympathy, and sympathy threatens the revolutionary narrative. They wanted her dead, but they did not want anyone to remember the smell of that cell. For decades, the cell in the Conciergerie was forgotten. It became storage, then a tourist attraction. The official story focused on Marie Antoinette, the symbol, the doomed queen, the aristocratic excess, the let them eat cake myth. What was erased was Marie Antoinette's body, the woman who bled, who developed lice, who smelled of sweat and fear, who begged for a chair. It was not until modern archaeological analysis in the 1980s and 1990s that historians began reconstructing the biological reality of her imprisonment. Studies of the cell's dimensions, ventilation, and light exposure.
Analysis of prison records detailing rations, sanitation, and guard schedules. Medical historians examine contemporary descriptions of her symptoms and work backward to diagnose her conditions.
What emerges is a portrait that contradicts every painting ever made of her. Not a symbol, a body. a body that was systematically degraded, humiliated, and destroyed before it was finally killed.
If you have realized that the sanitized version of history you learned in school deliberately erased the most important part, the physical, biological, undeniable humanity of the people it discusses, then subscribe to this channel. We are committed to showing you what the portraits were designed to hide. Here is what makes this story especially tragic. Marie Antoinette spent her entire life trapped in an image. From the moment she arrived in France at age 14, her body was not her own. It was a political tool, a diplomatic instrument, a symbol of alliance between Austria and France.
Every aspect of her appearance was controlled, managed, and presented. Her natural hair was never enough. It had to be built into sculptures. Her natural face was never enough. It required paint and powder.
Her natural body was never enough. It required corsets, panniers, and layers of fabric. She was not a person. She was a performance. And the tragedy is that the performance killed her twice.
First, it made her the symbol that the revolutionaries needed to destroy. And second, it created a myth so powerful that it erased the reality of her suffering.
Even today, when people think of Marie Antoinette, they think of the portrait, the hair, the jewels, the excess. Very few people think about the smell of that cell, the texture of rotting straw, the feeling of hemorrhaging continuously with no medical care. Those 76 days in the Conciergerie reveal something fundamental about the relationship between image and reality, between the mythology of power and the biology of being human.
No amount of silk can protect you from lice. No amount of powder can mask the smell of fear. No amount of political authority can prevent a body from bleeding.
The portraits lied, not because they showed her as beautiful, she was, but because they showed her as immune to the biological realities that govern all human bodies. And when those realities could no longer be concealed, when the system that maintained the illusion collapsed, what remained was just a body. Vulnerable, mortal, suffering. The revolutionaries thought they were executing a queen.
What they actually killed was a 37-year-old woman with lice, anemia, and uterine bleeding, who spent her last 76 days in a cell that smelled of rot and despair.
That's the truth the portraits do not show. That's the truth you deserve to know. Now, you can never look at those portraits the same way.
Every time you see Marie Antoinette in a museum, in a textbook, or in a film, you will remember the cell, the smell, the biological reality that the image was designed to erase.
That permanent shift in perception, that's the point. The mythology was beautiful, the reality was horror, and we owe it to the people trapped in these myths to tell both stories. Drop a comment. Which other historical figure do you think has the widest gap between their iconic image and their biological reality? Whose portrait is hiding the most?